Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're tackling a pretty hefty stack of sources. We've got reports from Reuters, Forbes, Bloomberg, Business Insider, Axios, the World Economic Forum.
And specific company examples too, right? IBM, Unilever, Vodafone.
Exactly. Intel, Shopify, Duolingo, Salesforce, the list goes on.
A real cross-section.
And our mission really is to unpack what these sources are telling us about this massive and frankly incredibly fast shift happening right now. We're talking white-collar work, the recruiting industry, all being reshaped by AI.
Yeah, and it feels like the conversation has moved beyond if it's going to happen. The sources really point towards how quickly and how deeply this is unfolding, especially looking out to, say, 2027.
Precisely. So the core question we're digging into is, what does this really rapid adoption of AI actually mean? For how companies hire people, yes, but also for the future of, well, a lot of office jobs.
Okay, let's dive in.
Let's unpack it,
Sure,
see what the reports are actually saying.
Well, maybe let's start with a number that kind of jumps out from one of the surveys cited. Apparently, something like 99% of hiring managers say they are already using AI in their hiring process right now.
99. Wow, okay, so that's not like a pilot program here or there.
No, that's standard operating procedure for almost everyone.
It's just baked in.
Now, it really is. And the sources break down how AI is taking over key parts of recruiting, stuff that used to take a lot of human hours.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about sourcing, just finding potential candidates. AI platforms now scan these huge talent pools instantly. LinkedIn, for example, the sources mention their new AI search. Recruiters don't need fancy Boolean strings anymore. They can just type, I need a software developer, 10 years experience, Minneapolis, and the AI figures it out. It even asks clarifying questions automatically sometimes. That just replaces hours of traditional sourcing work.
Okay, so the finding part is getting automated, but does it stop there?
Not at all. Screening and scheduling, huge time sinks, right? AI agents, chatbots, they're parsing resumes, handling all those basic candidate questions like, what are the benefits or when does it start? And they're scheduling the interviews. Minimal back and forth needed from a human. Forbes actually notes AI is becoming less of a tool and more like the architect of the whole hiring process.
And candidates are okay with this, talking to a bot for logistics.
Apparently, yes. The sources suggest candidates often find it more efficient, actually, better than waiting days for a human recruiter to email back about scheduling. They're comfortable with AI for the logistical stuff.
Okay, finding, screening, scheduling, but interviews, surely not actual interviews.
Well, yes, actually. That's the next step that's happening. AI-driven virtual recruiters. They're doing initial interviews, sometimes voice, sometimes video.
How does that even work?
The AI asks questions, then it analyzes the responses, the words, the tone of voice, even facial cues if it's video. Some companies are even using AI that can do, like, realistic two-way phone screens with synthetic voices.
Wow. Okay. Is there a big company example of this in action?
Yeah, Unilever comes up a lot in the sources, a real pioneer. They used AI video interviews for their huge volume of entry-level hires.
And the result?
In just 1 year, they saved 100,000 hours. That's human interviewing time, just gone. And that translated directly into saving, quote, hundreds of thousands of pounds, just by cutting down the need for human recruiters at that early stage.
100,000 hours.
Yeah. And Vodafone, Intel, they report similar things, using AI to evaluate recorded interviews, speeding everything up.
So just to recap, AI is sourcing, screening, and doing initial interviews. Work that used to be the bread and butter for a lot of human recruiters, especially agency recruiters.
Exactly. And that directly hits the traditional recruiting agency model, the one built on human brokers charging those big contingency fees.
Usually like 20–30% of the first year's salary, right?
Right. But now companies can just license an AI tool or use the AI features baked into platforms like LinkedIn for way, way less. It lets them cut out the middleman for a huge chunk of their hiring.
I think I saw a quote from a VC about this. Pretty blunt, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, very blunt. Victor Lazart from Benchmark Capital, he's quoted saying AI is fully replacing people. And he specifically called out lawyers and recruiters, saying they should be very nervous.
Ouch.
His point was companies could become much more valuable and much smaller in headcount because these roles just get automated.
And are companies actually doing this, pulling back from agencies?
The sources say yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Many are already cutting their spending on external recruiters, just shifting that money internally, investing in their own AI tools and tech.
So the stuff agencies were good at, like mass outreach.
Now easily automated in-house. Even some of the relationship stuff is moving online or being managed by AI, and that just puts enormous pressure on that contingency fee, paying 20%. When you have cheaper, faster AI options, it starts to look, as one source put it, untenable.
So the forecast is companies just ditch the agencies.
That's the strong signal. Sources expect a big wave of companies renegotiating or just canceling agency contracts around 2025, 2026. They'll put that money into AI software and beefing up their internal teams who know how to run it.
Which means trouble for the agency world.
Big trouble. Consolidation, serious downsizing, bankruptcies even.
Yeah.
Unless these agencies can pivot really fast to completely new services things AI can't do easily, like maybe high-level strategic workforce consulting or deep culture fit assessments.
Or maybe helping companies implement the AI itself.
Perhaps. But their core business, just finding and screening candidates, that looks set to shrink dramatically by 2027. The reports are pretty stark. The traditional agency recruiter might become an endangered species.
Wow, an endangered species. That's quite a statement for a whole industry. But you said this goes wider than just recruiting.
Oh, yeah. Much wider. The sources make it clear this AI automation isn't stopping at the hiring desk. It's hitting white-collar work across the board. We're potentially entering a period of net decline in some of these roles because AI is just getting so good at automating knowledge work.
A net decline. So fewer jobs overall in these areas.
Potentially. The World Economic Forum, for instance, projects that this decade, AI could automate roughly as many jobs as it creates. So you might see overall flat or even shrinking employment in certain white-collar sectors, even if new AI-related jobs pop up.
Which kinds of jobs are feeling it first?
The sources point very clearly to entry-level and routine office jobs, things like clerical work, administrative support. A UN study found those roles are hardest hit, maybe a quarter of their tasks highly exposed to automation.
And these are often jobs filled by younger workers starting out.
Exactly, which makes that demographic particularly vulnerable. And we're actually seeing hints of this in the hiring data already. One analysis showed job postings for roles with lots of AI doable tasks fell much faster, like 31% faster than other job postings over the last 3 years.
So it's not just theory, it's in the numbers.
It's starting to show up, and in specific areas too. Like after ChatGPT came out, one study found freelance writing and translation gigs dropped about 2%, and the pay fell 5%. Short term, maybe, but it shows immediate impact. And tech hiring for new grads. It fell off a cliff in 2024, partly because companies realized AI could do a lot of the junior coding or data tasks they used to give to new hires.
And the CEOs are noticing, making calls based on this.
Explicitly. Shopify's CEO, Toby Lutke, he apparently told his managers they have to prove AI can't do a job before he'll approve hiring a person.
Wow.
And Duolingo's CEO talked about phasing out contractors because AI could handle the work. These aren't abstract future plans. They're impacting hiring decisions right now.
Okay, some of those forecasts you mentioned earlier start to sound, well, pretty alarming.
Some are definitely stark. Dario Amodei, he's the CEO of Anthropic, an AI firm. He warned AI could potentially wipe out half of entry-level white-collar jobs in just 5 years.
Half?
Yeah. Which he worried could push unemployment way up, maybe even to 20%. And he said most people just aren't aware how fast this is coming. It's also interesting that predictions made years ago are suddenly looking spot on. Kai-Fu Lee predicted back in 2017 that AI might displace 40–50% of jobs by 2027. He recently said that forecast looks uncannily accurate now.
Okay, so maybe the exact percentage is debated, but the overall direction seems clear in these sources. A fundamental shift in white-collar work by 2027. Likely fewer traditional office jobs, especially at the entry level.
Precisely. Automation isn't just for factories anymore. It's moved into the office. It's in the cubicles, and it's happening fast.
Which leads us to how companies are actually managing this internally. You mentioned the rise of internal AI and these autonomous hiring agents.
Right. So companies aren't just waiting around. They're actively building AI-first recruiting capabilities inside their own walls, partly to cut those external agency costs we talked about, partly just because the tech is available and powerful.
So they're buying software or building it themselves?
Both. Buying off-the-shelf tools, building proprietary systems. IBM is a big example here. Their CEO has been very open about automating HR. They paused hiring for thousands of back-office roles, like 700–800 jobs.
Wow.
And predicted 30% of those could be replaced by AI within 5 years, starting back in 2022. They already use AI for resume screening, onboarding, lots of internal HR tasks.
And let's go back to Unilever again. That sounds like a prime case of building an AI-first process internally.
It really is. It's cited often as a leading example. They get over 1 million applicants a year, right? So they built this system. Candidates play games, then record video interviews. And algorithms, not people, do the primary evaluation.
Saving that 100,000 hours we mentioned.
Exactly. Huge time and cost savings. But they also said it improved hiring quality and diversity because it reduced human bias in those early stages. And now other big names, Vodafone, Singapore Airlines, Intel, they've adopted similar AI assessment tools.
So the internal HR person isn't gone, but their job is totally different.
Fundamentally different. They're less of a manual sourcer or screener and more of an AI operator or strategist. Their job becomes configuring the AI systems, understanding the data the AI spits out, handling the final complex stages like negotiation, maybe managing the tech vendors.
So companies are training their HR teams for this.
Big time. Investing in training is key. The payoff is faster hiring, lower costs, often a better candidate experience because the communication is faster, and crucially, a strong internal AI capability makes those external agencies even less necessary.
Okay, so using AI tools internally is step one. What's the next evolution the sources point to?
Autonomous agents. That seems to be where this is heading, and quickly. The idea is AI agents that can manage entire workflows, maybe even the whole hiring process, from start to finish, with very little human intervention.
Like a robot recruiter.
Kind of. Salesforce launched something called Agentforce. It lets companies build custom AI agents for business processes. And by late 2024, they had over 200 big companies signed up: FedEx, IBM, and get this, Adecco.
Wait, Adecco, the giant global staffing and recruitment firm, they're using AI agents.
Yeah, think about that. One of the biggest players in traditional human recruiting is deploying AI agents to automate the core work their business was built on. That's a huge signal.
So what can these agents actually do?
They can monitor applications 24/7, screen and rank candidates based on criteria, send outreach emails, conduct AI-driven screening interviews, handle follow-ups, generate hiring recommendations, basically act as a nonstop virtual recruiter. And Salesforce says HR teams can set these up without needing to code.
And it's not just Salesforce.
No, startups are jumping in too, building specialized hiring bots. Bloomberg reported on AI phone interviewers that can handle those initial screening calls, ask questions, manage the conversation flow, designed to sound pretty human.
So the vision for 2027 is an AI could handle almost the entire hiring process.
That's what the sources suggest is feasible, maybe even likely in many large companies by then. An AI agent takes a job rec, finds candidates, screens them, interviews them, maybe even kicks off onboarding with just a final human sign-off needed.
The efficiency gains sound incredible. Speed, consistency, handling massive volume.
Huge potential benefits. But there are definitely concerns flagged in the sources too.
Like what?
Well, bias is a big one. Algorithmic bias creeping into decisions. Remember that Amazon recruiting tool fiasco?
Right, it was penalizing resumes with women's college names.
Exactly. So bias is a real risk. Transparency is another. How does the AI make its choices? And just the candidate experience. People might feel uncomfortable with a fully automated process, find it impersonal. Plus, regulators are watching very closely. The EU AI Act labels hiring AI as high risk. New York City already requires bias audits for these tools.
So hurdles exist, but the overall direction is clear.
Yeah, despite the challenges, the momentum towards these AI hiring agents seems really strong. By 2027, it feels likely many companies will have these AI coworkers in HR handling a lot of the heavy lifting, which again reduces the need for external help.
And if the tools and processes change that much, the teams themselves must change shape too. You mentioned teams getting leaner, augmented by AI.
Right. Executives are starting to talk about AI as a workforce multiplier. Basically, smaller teams can achieve the same or even more output. That Adecco survey we mentioned, it found 41% of senior execs expect to have smaller workforces within 5 years because of AI.
So it's not just efficiency, it's actually reducing headcount strategically.
It looks like a strategic right-sizing, yeah. Especially trimming support roles, junior positions, the tasks that are most easily automated. Remember that VC quote, companies becoming much more valuable and much smaller. Fewer people, but higher value per person.
So the people who remain, their jobs change too.
Completely. They're augmented by AI. They might be supervising the AI agents, reviewing AI-generated analysis, managing exceptions. Basically, each human can handle a much broader scope because the AI takes care of the routine stuff. This is really hitting back-office functions, hard finance, HR, IT. Sources talk about a full reimagination there.
Can you give an example of what a team might look like?
Sure. Like maybe an internal recruiting team used to have 10 people doing everything, sourcing, screening, calls, scheduling. In the new model, maybe it's 3 or 4 people.
Doing what?
They're the AI specialists, the strategists. They configure the AI, oversee its work, handle the really complex candidate relationships or negotiations, focus on overall talent strategy. The AI does the bulk of the volume work.
And the big forecasts for 2027 back this up.
They do. The WEF predicts 42% of business tasks automated by 2027. And maybe even more striking, they predict 44% of workers' core skills will need to change because of AI.
44%. That's almost half of core skills becoming outdated or needing an update.
It's huge. And think back to IBM's CEO predicting 30% of their non-customer-facing roles replaced by AI between 2022 and 2027. They already froze hiring there. So yeah, by 2027, org charts probably look flatter, fewer people, especially in junior roles. Maybe some new roles emerge like AI system managers, but likely not enough to offset the reductions.
Getting this human-AI collaboration right sounds like the absolute key.
It's critical. The sources say companies that nail this could see spectacular productivity gains. But if you mess it up or stick to the old ways, you're looking at higher costs, inefficiency, maybe even legal trouble if you don't manage the AI ethically. It's a tough reality, but the white-collar workforce could shrink significantly, even while productivity goes up. That has major societal implications, obviously.
Okay, this feels incredibly fast-paced. Let's drill down into the timeline the sources suggest, especially between now and 2027. It sounds like a really compressed period.
Very compressed. Intense transformation packed into just a few years.
So, kicking off with 2025, what did they see happening then?
2025 is often framed as the breakout year for AI in hiring. This is when AI tools in HR go from niche to mainstream. Widespread adoption. The early adopters start boasting about massive efficiency gains, cost savings.
Making everyone else scramble to catch up.
Exactly. You start seeing real impacts in the job market data. Entry-level white-collar hiring noticeably slows, especially in tech, finance. Companies just automate those tasks instead, and experts. They start sounding the alarm much louder, warning policymakers that serious job displacement is coming, maybe within 1 to 5 years. Plus, the first big regulations, like the EU AI Act, start to bite, putting compliance burdens on companies using these tools.
Okay, so 2025 is the breakout, then 2026.
2026 is painted as the year of disruption and realignment. This is when the workforce reductions really pick up speed. Those AI-driven headcount strategies start getting implemented. You see the impact of things like IBM's planned cuts.
And the recruitment agencies?
They're in crisis mode. Major downsizing, frantic pivots to new services, maybe mergers just to survive. The sources suggest some agencies, especially the traditional ones, might even go bankrupt. They just can't compete on cost or speed with internal AI. Companies also start openly talking about their AI hiring agents as a sign of being cutting edge. Executive confidence that AI can replace whole functions grows. And critically, professionals themselves realize this is real and start serious reskilling efforts. You see a surge in people trying to learn AI skills.
And the economic data reflects this.
Likely shows a weird split. Productivity might be going up, but total employment or hours worked could be flat or even dipping, a sign of doing more with less or fewer people.
Which brings us to 2027, the new normal.
Right. By 2027, the sources suggest many companies have hit their right-size targets. They've spent a few years trimming or redefining roles AI can handle. We're talking maybe a quarter to a third of previous white-collar jobs eliminated or fundamentally changed over that short 3-4 year window.
Through layoffs or freezes or...
A mix. Attrition, hiring freezes, but yeah, targeted layoffs too. And those traditional recruitment agencies, largely gone, or niche players. The contingent fee model for general hiring is basically extinct as a mainstream thing. Recruiting is either internal AI or very high-end strategic consulting.
What about unemployment?
Could be higher. Especially tough for new grads looking for those entry-level roles that just aren't there anymore. New AI jobs exist, AI trainers, system supervisors, but maybe not enough yet to absorb everyone. So policymakers are probably deep in debates about retraining safety nets, maybe even things like UBI.
And companies are focused on ethics.
Big time. Because they're now so reliant on AI for hiring, they have to grapple with bias, fairness, transparency. Partly because of regulations like those NYC audits, partly just to manage their reputation. That WEF forecast of 42% of tasks automated. By 2027, it probably feels pretty close to reality. It's just a different world of work.
That timeline is,
Yeah.
incredibly fast.
Yeah.
But the sources also suggest a lot of people, even leaders, are kind of missing the boat here, overlooking key things.
They really emphasize this. There are some critical blind spots preventing people from grasping just how fast and deep this change is.
Like what? What's the biggest one?
First, and maybe the most dangerous, is just underestimating the speed.
Yeah.
People think linearly. They think, oh, AI, that's the future, maybe 5, 10 years away.
Uh-huh.
The sources scream, no, it's exponential, the tipping point. We're past it. By the time it feels really urgent to you or your company, it's probably already too late to make the big changes needed. The wait is here now.
Thinking linear, not exponential.
Yeah.
Got it. What else?
Second, treating AI as just another tool instead of a whole new system. People are, dabbling. Using it to write emails, summarize notes, fine. But that misses the point.
Which is?
The real power is replacing entire workflows, the whole recruiting funnel, start to finish, employee onboarding, customer service processes. It's automating the system, not just tweaking one step.
And that ties into the job situation.
Exactly. Blind spot number 3, not seeing the structural job decay. It's not just that recruiting jobs are changing, it's that the demand for the jobs agencies use to fill those entry-level admin, coordinator, junior analyst roles, that demand itself is evaporating.
Because AI agents are doing those tasks internally now.
Right, the base of the pyramid is eroding.
Yeah.
Agencies lose clients because the clients literally don't need those roles filled by humans anymore.
Okay, what about the human touch? People always say relationships are AI-proof.
That's blind spot number 4, according to the sources. Believing relationships are the ultimate moat. They argue trust is the moat. Relationships are just one way to build trust.
And AI can build trust.
It's getting better at mimicking interaction, tone, even empathy in digital channels. If your main value is just being a friendly human broker, AI is coming for that. Your human value needs to be strategic judgment, creativity, complex problem solving, things AI truly can't do yet.
And the idea AI only hits low-skill jobs.
Big misconception. Blind spot 5. Thinking AI only replaces low skill. Nope. It's coming first for high volume, repeatable knowledge work. Recruiters, marketers, project coordinators, finance ops. That middle layer. It's surprisingly vulnerable because the tasks are often process-driven and data-rich.
So just upgrading your current team isn't enough.
Not nearly enough. Blind spot 6. Not thinking in ecosystems. You can't just upgrade the recruiter. You need to rebuild the whole client and candidate experience. Content, branding, automated onboarding, data integration. The tech stack is about owning the entire workflow, providing integrated value.
And finally, hoping things go back to normal.
Yeah, the last big blind spot, number 7. Assuming clients will just come back when the market picks up. Dangerous myth. Clients aren't waiting. They're re-engineering their own operations around AI now. They're building internal capabilities. They're discovering they don't need the old services. If you don't reinvent yourself now, you won't be relevant later. Simple as that.
Yeah, sobering points. Urgent. Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the actionable advice? What do the sources say organizations and even individuals should be doing right now?
They're pretty clear on the recommendations. For organizations, number 1, embrace AI strategically. And do it now. Don't wait. Invest in the tools.
Start experimenting, piloting.
More than experimenting, start integrating. Train your internal teams to use these tools effectively. Begin with the high-volume, repetitive tasks, get those wins. Remember, 91% of execs plan to adopt generative AI. If you're not acting, you're already falling behind your competitors.
It's basically table stakes now.
Pretty much. Second, redesign your teams and structure around AI. Think differently about headcount. Can you achieve more with fewer people augmented by AI? Set those higher productivity targets. Do those role exposure audits, figure out exactly which tasks in your company are automatable.
And be open with employees about it.
Yes, transparency is key. Explore flatter structures. Maybe create those new roles like AI system managers. Remember that 41% of execs already expect smaller teams because of AI. Plan for it.
Okay, what about the people whose roles are changing or disappearing?
This is absolutely crucial. Recommendation 3, massive investment in reskilling and AI literacy. As AI handles routine work, the human jobs shift to higher-level skills. Analysis, strategy, creativity, supervising the AI, working with the AI effectively.
So not just learning about AI, but learning new jobs entirely.
Often, yes. It's reskilling, not just upskilling. Companies need dedicated budgets for this. Continuous learning programs. The sources worry that only about a quarter of firms track this stuff properly now. That has to change. Fast.
And with AI making more decisions, the ethical side is huge.
Cannot be overstated. Recommendation 4, rigorous human oversight and strong ethics. Audit your AI tools constantly for bias. Learn from Amazon's mistake. Keep humans in the loop for critical decisions needing judgment or empathy. Have clear AI usage policies. Don't over-automate just because you can. Keep the human touch where it matters, empathy, complex relationships. Use AI for efficiency, humans for judgment. And remember, regulators are watching. NYC bias audits are just the beginning.
So HR's role transforms completely.
Totally. Recommendation 5. Reimagine HR. Internal HR becomes strategic talent advisors. Focus shifts to employer branding, high-level relationship building, workforce planning, internal mobility. They need data skills to work with AI insights. The CHRO and the CTO-CIO need to be joined at the hip on this transformation. Use AI to find and upskill internal talent, not just screen external candidates. Measure different things: AI performance, quality of AI-assisted hires.
And finally, the bigger picture. Society.
Yeah, recommendation 6. Plan for the socioeconomic impact. Leaders need to acknowledge the potential job displacement. It affects morale, public perception, have a humane automation plan if possible, transition people internally. Communicate the benefits of AI to the remaining staff, less grunt work, more interesting challenges. And engage with policymakers constructively about responsible AI. Steer this thing thoughtfully.
The message seems to be adapt proactively, strategically, and ethically, or risk becoming obsolete.
That sums it up pretty well. The window to adapt is closing faster than people think.
Wow, okay, that really was a deep dive. The sources paint this incredibly consistent picture. Traditional recruitment facing, well, you called it an extinction event, and a major right-sizing, a net reduction in white-collar jobs accelerating towards 2027.
Yeah, it's not just about using AI tools anymore. It's about AI becoming the underlying operating system for how talent is found and how a lot of knowledge work actually gets done.
It really forces you to rethink what human work even means in this new context. Where do we add unique value?
Exactly. The challenges are huge unemployment risks, the massive need for reskilling, serious ethical questions about bias. No doubt about it. But the sources also stress the opportunities for those who get ahead of the curve.
The ones who embrace AI systemically, redesign their organizations, and really focus on those irreplaceable human skills.
Right, building the company and the workforce for the reality that's basically already here.
So, thinking about this, what does it mean for you listening right now? How might your own role or the jobs of people you know look different in just the next 2-3 years based on everything we've just unpacked?
And maybe consider this. If an AI agent truly can handle a job requisition from start to finish, needing only minimal human oversight, what does that free up the humans in that process to actually do? What higher value work becomes possible?
And crucially, are you actively building the skills, the strategic, analytical, creative, maybe the deeply empathetic skills that will be needed in that new reality?
Definitely someone to chew on.
Something to think about until our next deep dive.